Okay guys, welcome back. Today we are going to show you how to retrofit your own headlights. Today we're going to be using a set of headlights for a PT Cruiser, as you see in the background. We did a cheap $30 Demon Eyes, which we'll walk you through on how to do it. We're using $60 projectors. We bought some shrouds. A lot of this is just a cheap build, guys. We will tell you how to do it. We do walk you through it. I do apologize. Today's video is going to be a little different, so this is going to be half a voiceover and half of us talking throughout the video, just due to the fact that, well, Jeff has kids and it gets kind of loud in the background, so we try to make this as easy for you guys so you guys can follow along. So you see the Demon Eyes work. We got red, we got blue, we got green, we got purple, we have strobing, we have all the options that you can personally want. This is a $30 Canadian kit from Canadian Tire. It's just LED strips with a controller that you can strobe, you can change the color of the lights, you can walk yourself through it. So without further ado, I'm going to walk you through on how you can retrofit your headlights. I'd say we're into this for under like $150 Canadian by the time you buy your $60 projectors and your shrouds. The headlights I'm not including with the price because, well, you have your own headlights. I decided to go with brand new headlights because that's what we had. You are going to need a can of primer, spray can primer, and you're going to need a spray can black if you plan on going black. So you see we did go with a black housing headlight, so we did paint ours black, and then we used a couple red Scotch-Brite pads to sand it. So other than that, guys, you can do this at home. It's fairly easy. We're going to walk you through it. If you did enjoy this, guys, smash that like button. Let's get this video out to other people, and that happens by you guys hitting that like button. So without further ado, let's show you how this happens.
But this method will work on any style of headlight. It depends on how well they come apart, so if they're premium sealed or not premium sealed. So the first thing you want to do is preheat your oven. Where are we at, Jeff?
240 is what I like to do, just because it's hot enough to get the housing warm, but not hot enough that you're going to melt anything. And make sure you preheat it first, because if not, the element likes to burn and melt your whole housing if you throw it in there.
Okay, so we're going to put it in there for 20 minutes?
Yeah, now that I know that these aren't perma-sealed, I'll put them in for 20 minutes.
Okay, so we'll come back in 20 minutes. We're going to set that in there, guys, and we're going to work with a setup. We're using Mini Mosho. What are we using for projectors?
Yours aren't Morimoto. Yours are the Acme H1s, which are the Acme H1 Supers, which are like the older Morimoto ones.
Only because we've owned these for probably 2 years now. I've had these projectors, and then we are doing a set of Demon Eyes. Now I do have the actual Demon Eye control box, but it's like $300, I believe. Getting pretty around there
for the whole setup plus the Bluetooth controller. Yeah.
Yeah, because mine's the Bluetooth controller, which I had, but I'm going to use that for probably the Civic truck or the NYG. So I went to Canadian Tire and I bought a set of cheap LEDs. I'm going to walk you guys through that as well.
So once it's out of the oven, guys, make sure you have a pair of gloves on, and we're going to walk you through this. We use an interior clip remover just to pry the headlight off. So we did bake it for about 20 minutes, as you see here. Here's our interior clip remover. We're just going to go in between the housing and the lens, and we're just going to work our way around. As we're doing it, we're holding up on the tabs of the headlight. So you see there's a tab right there at the top of the headlight. You just lift up on it so the tab does not get broken, and you slowly pry it apart. Now you see that the glue is peeling with this. You just want to knock the glue off. You don't want to get that inside the bowl or inside your lens, because you don't want to be touching inside the lens at all, to be honest, and you don't want to be going and trying to clean up the mess afterwards. So just take your time, knock the glue down like you see Jeff is doing right here, and then we'll separate the outer lens to the plastic piece you see here. Now, try not to touch the lens with your fingers, guys, and we want to take this amber off. We're lucky on the PT Cruiser, it just clips in spot. So we're going to pop that off, and then we're going to pop off the rest of the headlight. Now, you see here, Jeff is taking a screwdriver, and he's going to push the glue back down in spot. That helps with resealing, so we don't have to use any butyl tape or any type of glue. So you see here, he's just pushing it down and pushing it evenly as possible all the way around the headlight. And again, that's just to do for the reseal, but it's better to do it now when it's still warm. Once that's done, we're going to take the inner bowl off. Now it clips in spot with 4 clips, guys. So what we're going to do is we're going to peel that off as well. Now the good thing about these headlights is the rubber gasket does actually cover the outer seal, so we can use some caulking around the headlight. So you see Jeff is now taking off the 4 tabs. You do it when it's warm because they'll come out a lot easier, and he's just prying the tabs out and it will pop out of place. So those are your headlight adjustments is what that is, and it's just literally a little ball with 4 corners that clip into spot and hold it in spot. So Jeff is taking his time and he's popping them out as you see. And once it's out, now we can start doing our retrofit. So we don't need this here. We're going to set that off to the side. We're just going to put the lens back on it so there's no way anything can get inside the lens, and then we're going to continue with this. So first things first, we're going to pop off the amber, and all it is it's just clipped in a spot with 2 little clips. We're going to pull the clips out, and then we're going to push it out towards us, and it comes off. That is ready to be sanded now, but we're going to wait and do the inner bowl at the same time. So I like the idea of leaving the amber in, and now we're going to work on the inner bowl. So you want to take off all the inside part of the headlights and stuff, and then we are going to start test fitting it for our retrofit. So our retrofit, we're just going to undo the shroud because they were together. It's only 4 screws to pop it off so we can get it test fitted.
We got our projector, and as you can see, it's stripped down. So we need to install our strip. We cut these down because we already test fitted one. We're going to try to do the next one. So we're going to take off the front lens holder. Stuck on it. To access the inside of it, so we have something to stick it onto, because normally the demon eyes will sit above here, just a little LED chip, and the wires run out, and it projects light down and in, so it shows. What we're doing instead, where we're using strips to save cost, we're putting it down on the bottom inside the lens. So we're going to see just and that was the best place we could get it to fit. All out, there's 4 that hold on. That's the
high-low.
The high-low shield. That's what the bowl itself looks like. It's just reflective. You can see, like, this is decent quality for what it is, for what you pay. I think those were $60 Canadian for the set of them, which is much cheaper than the Morimoto, the actual Morimoto ones, which are $130 for the set. And these are just older versions, technically, which work quite well still. Alright, so like I said, we're going on this inside edge. Just gonna try to center it as much as possible. Try to. Kinda hard to see, I'm sure. So, just gonna stick it there. Then, see? Holds on. Then, as you can see on the front, you don't even see it. So when it lights up, it would give a nice glow of whatever color is selected at the time.
Once you get the LED strips in, guys, we're just going to reassemble our projector. It's the same way you took it off. It's only 4 screws. Just make sure you line it up and make sure that the wiring for the projector is coming out, so you have an easy way to access it when it comes time to put it in the inner bowl. So that's the super easy part, guys. The LED strip, again, we only bought it Canadian Tire. It was $29 Canadian, and it's just like a 6-inch LED strip that changes color with a remote control that you can plug into your cigarette lighter, or you can add 12-volt power to it. We're going to add 12-volt power, and it comes with a remote, so it's kind of handy.
Alright, so we just did one to show you the difference of what it looks like once you trim the back off. See, you get all this where the original bulb holder would be, where it twists in and everything, which you take that off. And then you cut it down, you slowly cut into it and try to get as flat as possible. Or another option is take it to a belt sander if you have the option to do it. I do usually at work, but since I'm not there, I didn't do it. So basically I can eye it up for the most part and flatten it. And then I like to give it a little bit extra stability. Instead of this locking ring that usually goes on the back of the projector, you'll thread it on. I like to put that, which is, that one is an H7. So if you were to put these in an H7 housing, you'd put that on first and it would actually clock it properly and, well, for the most part, close. So I usually put them in, say, put the projector in, it's threaded. Now we're lucky with these ones, the hole is actually already big enough that for the thread there, I think it's, I can't remember what size it is, 19 mil or something like that. Maybe not quite. Then you gotta open up the hole. So you get it in, you put it in, you put your spacer on, and then you put your locking ring on. It can be a bit of a pain to start sometimes. You run it down. Now, if you noticed, I had a rubber gasket on the other side. That helps straighten things out a little bit better. So then once we're ready to tighten it up, you tighten that nut as far as you can go, and then once it's on there, it will crush the thread so it locks. So don't tighten it up too tight early for mocking up. You can still leave it a little bit loose so you can turn it.
What headlight's that? Which side?
This is driver's side.
Driver's side.
Yeah, we'll probably get the lens off right now. I don't want all the dust and everything inside. It's the biggest thing. So on these ones, we're lucky that you got that hole there and that hole there. You can use that as an orientation for your up and down, or like for your vertical. So you can actually look along it and see where the projector is going to be, because you gotta, if not, your cutoff when you get it is not going to be straight. Or we could have one like that, just a little bit. I'm going to try to get them as close as possible. Then you're supposed to test fit them, test out the system, make sure everything's working. Yeah, test fit them, fire up the HIDs with the lenses off, make sure everything's in place, and then once that is done, then you tighten up that nut and lock the threads. So, well, that is cut off there. Actually, I just realized one other thing that still needs to be done with this one is the solenoid wires, which are these. So as you can see, there's no other holes. We got to get that through, and our wires for our demon eyes as well.
So what we did, guys, you see the hole there, we de-pinned our plug for our retrofits, the high-low, and we're just going to stick it through the factory hole. So now we're going to take this one, which is our passenger side headlight. We're going to pull off the outer ring right here. That's for the high beam, or low beam, I should say. And then we are going to cut the back of the housing. So we're going to walk you through this. We do have our little rotary tool. Now, again, we are doing this inside. It's that time of year, and, well, you know, we got to do what we have. So we're going to do this inside. We're going to cut the outer ring off. We're going to take our time and cut a little bit at a time so it matches the driver's side. Now I'm going to give you a little hint. We didn't take enough off the first time. We don't find that out till later on throughout the video when we go to test fit the lenses with the bowls. And the lenses were hitting the bowls, so we do have to trim a little more off than we showed you the first time. So keep that in mind, that you watch the whole video so we can walk you through our mistakes and you don't make the mistakes as well, guys. This is super easy. You could do it at home with barely any tools. If you don't have a rotary tool, you could use a little hacksaw. It's only plastic. You can get through it pretty easily. So we're doing this as straight as possible. If you're done cutting and you have a belt sander, that would be ideal. Or just take your time and cut it as best as possible, and then just knock it down little by little. And that's what Jeff's doing. He's taking his time. He's just knocking it down to where he thinks he needs it. And once it's done, he's taking his rotary bit right here, and he's just trying to make it a level cut. So once that's done, we're going to walk you through the rest of it.
We got our wires to the back. I ended up actually, it worked out, the hole is big enough for the demon eye wire and our solenoid wire. All we had to do was take the connector off, just depin it. So then when the time comes to put it back together, just push them back in and done. Now these, for the solenoid, it don't matter. It's just positive, negative, can go either way.
Okay, so I have all the parts down here in my basement. Before you guys start complaining about ventilation, it's basement that's secluded from my top stairs. It's a basement apartment that I'm renovating. So we got some gray primer, and what we're going to do is we're going to shake this up. As you see, I scuffed up everything real quickly. So what I'm going to do is lay some primer. So unfortunately, all I have is self-etching primer, just because I'm working on the Civic truck, and if I broke through, I just wanted to put some self-etching primer on for any bare metal. So I don't really got much to choose from. So all I'm trying to do now is just get any of the clear plastic spots. I just want to get it covered off. So again, it's probably not the best type of primer because it's meant for bare metal, but I'm just trying to get it all gray, all one color. See, the gray is sprayed. It looks like there's a little bit of wet spot still right in there. So I'm just going to give it a few seconds, and I'm just going to shake up my black. Once the primer is laid, guys, I'm going to just spray my black on. Make sure you do 2 or 3 light coats. Make sure you get every edge as possible. Take your time that you don't miss no spots. That way you don't have to do it later on. So it's quite easy. Just keep shaking the can where you go. It's nothing special. We just knocked it down with the red Scotch-Brite pad, primed it like you've seen, and now we are going black base. Super easy. Again, you can do this pretty well anywhere. I'm doing it in my basement because it is secluded from the upstairs and the smell won't go upstairs.
Alright, so next day, now that Richard has everything painted, all nice and, what is it? I guess semi-gloss, black. So we're going to get everything ready to go in. So first, with our setup, of course, I had to cut the wires in order to get everything in. So I'm just stripping it back a little bit more so I have more to work with.
So what we're going to do, I'm interrupting Jeff for a second, is we're going to get them built, and then we're going to hook up the 2 LED strips, and then we're going to test it out with the remote to make sure they work before we get too far sealing it back up.
Yeah.
It says not to cut that, but it's only 4 wires and they're color matched, so it shouldn't be an issue.
Yeah, it's more or less, it's not the easiest thing to rejoin them, but I got a soldering iron and everything. That's kind of the stuff that I do. Now the shroud only goes on one way when you actually screw it on. Other than that, you can glue it on with some JB Weld or whatnot, which I've done before. Just depends on the shroud combination with the projector, but these ones are designed for it. So they just slide on. You got 4 holes that match.
Once your shroud lines up with your projector, guys, you're just going to put your 4 screws back in. Make sure your wiring's where it needs to be, because this is the last time the projector will be apart. So just take your time. Don't over tighten it or you will strip it. So here we're going to assemble the projector into the shroud, or I should say into the bowl. Take your time. Our wires are going through the factory hole. We're just trying to line the projector up and make sure you do not scratch the paint, because obviously you just took your time painting it. Once it goes through, we're going to pull the wires through so you will not see them, and then we'll just tighten up the lock washer on the back. You don't want to over tighten the lock washer just yet, because you want to make sure you can test fit it first. Keep in mind that you screw it down far enough that the hardware or the bulb will still go in. There's little knockouts for the bulb to sit in spot, so make sure you're past that when you're tightening it. If need be, take a set of pliers and just tighten it that way. So you see here we added power from our battery pack, guys, and we're just making sure that our demon eyes work before we seal it up. Now, one thing we just learned was when we go to test fit the bowl with the headlight in the outer part of the lens, that it will not close because the projector's out too far. So now our next step is to take it all back apart from the bowl, and we're going to cut the bowl some more, and then we're going to show you how you're going to connect the projector to the bowl, because we're going to cut quite a bit out of the back of it. So it's a test fit. It's always trial and error, guys, but it's super easy to do. So now that we know what we need to do, we're going to get our Dremel back out with a cutting disc, and we are going to cut more of the bowl out. So just take your time. We're not going to cut too much out at once. We're going to cut a little bit at a time. We're going to test fit it, cut a little more, test fit it, and we're just going to keep doing that until we get it to where we want it. Once we get it in spot, guys, what you are going to need to do is get some JB Weld, because we're going to use JB Weld to seal the bottom of the housing to our projector, and that way it keeps the moisture out and it will keep the projector in spot. So this isn't really fun to watch, but literally all we're doing is taking a little extra off, and then we're going to test fit it and keep going back and forth. So make sure when you are test fitting it, just try to clean the bowl out. You see there's a lot of dust everywhere, and this is something that we probably should have did before we painted the bowls, but thank God it doesn't damage the paint. It just makes it really dusty. So make sure you have a clean microfiber cloth just to clean it up. So you see Jeff is test fitting the projector to make sure it's back far enough, and once we have it where we need it, he just changed the outer housing to a sanding disc on the rotary tool, and we're just sanding it around, trying to make it as smooth as possible. You don't want to go too big because you don't want to have a huge gap to fill with JB Weld, because the last thing you want is JB Weld to seep down when you're trying to glue your projector into your housing, and then you get that on your fresh paint. So make sure you take your time, guys. It's really easy to do, and you know, just if you take your time, you won't be afraid to do it, and you'll get it on the first try. So once we got it where we think we're going to want it, we're going to just wipe it down real quickly. Like I said, nice microfiber cloth, and we're going to test fit it in the housing with both the inner and the outer lens, just to see if it fits. Now you see here, it fits where it should be, so we're pretty good to go to glue it in spot. So we didn't warm up the housing or nothing, we just literally pushed it in spot, but that glue can be sticky. Make sure you pry out your 4 tabs, which is your adjustments, which we did at the very beginning, that way you don't break it. Good tip is if you heat up your inner housing, those tabs will be a little more flexible and it's less likely to break. So once we know where we want to be, we're taking everything back apart one last time, just due to dust. So we didn't plan on cutting this time, so we already wiped this down once, but it's good to take it all back apart, wipe inside the projector, inside all the lenses, and get all the dust out, because once it's sealed, you're not going to get at it. So make sure you use a clean microfiber cloth and just wipe everything down properly, and take your time, because once it's sealed, if there's dust or dirt, it's going to drive you crazy and there's nothing you can do. So we're going to prop up our projector, and that way we can get our projector where we want it in the housing. We're going to tape off the housing where we don't want JB Weld to go. That way we can give us a nice clean area. And what's going to happen is we are going to start to JB Weld. So you see Jeff is marking off the area. We don't want JB Weld all over the back of the housing. Good thing is the factory grommets for the headlights is going to cover all this anyways, so you don't need to make it 100% perfect, but you know, having it propped up in spot helps you fight it not moving. And we're going to tape the wires out of the way as well because we don't want that sitting in the JB Weld. And then we're going to mix up some JB Weld. So one pack of JB Weld should do both headlights, guys. Just take your time on this, mix it up. We used a Q-tip, we cut the end of it off to help, and as you see here is we're just gluing the projector to the housing. If you have big gaps for any reason, wait for the JB Weld to harden a little bit and then put it in that way. So do all the tight gaps first, leave the bigger gaps to the end. Once it starts to get tacky, you can put it in there. And honestly, we didn't have any drip down because you just took your time, so we don't have to worry about the paint on the outside. And it kind of seals it all up so you can't see it, and it will stop the fog and the moisture later on. So as you see, once it starts to get tacky, we are just going to take some soap on a glove. As you see here, Jeff is, and he's putting soap on it, and he's pushing down on the JB Weld, which is sealing it even farther into the gaps, and the soap stops the JB Weld from sticking to his hand, and then he's just going to pull the tape off. He's going to let it cure, and so we're waiting for the JB to weld. Jeff is taking the back of the housing, and there's 4 tabs that we pull the bowl off of. He's just adjusting them in, so it's just the adjustment of the bowl to the housing, and we just wanted to give us a little extra room when it comes time to assemble. Once the JB Weld is dry, guys, like always, we're going to wipe down the inner housing, and we are going to, like I said, make sure that all 4 tabs are screwed in. Gives us a little more extra room for the projector against the housing. It's just the Phillips screwdriver, it's no big deal. So we're just going to adjust that as best as possible, and now it's time to push this in spot. So those little 4 adjustment tabs we were screwing in, where they just clip in again. So sometimes it's nice to heat up the inner housing, guys. When it's warm, it will push over that little round clip a little more, and it's less likely to break. Once you got that in spot, we're going to wipe down our outer cover for the headlight, which is painted, and our amber is already installed, and we're going to get that in spot, and then we are going to reseal the headlight. We're going to walk you through that as well. So like always, clean everything as best as possible. Do not get your fingerprints on the inner part of the lens because you will see it and there'll be no way to clean it. And this is the time that if you have any glue or nothing, don't use Windex or anything, any type of cleaner on the inside. If need be, you just seen Jeff lick the towel a little bit just to wipe anything off. But this is where it's very crucial to make sure that you don't have glue when you separate the headlights inside your lenses, because it will be a pain in your butt. So if you get glue on the outside, guys, wait for it to dry and it will rub off. So you see we're just going to start to assemble the headlight now. We're going to set it in spot, and what we want to do is put it back in the oven to bake it, and that way we can push the glue back together. We don't have to reuse any other glue because we saved that at the very first of the step where we showed you how to push it all down. And so now it's going to go back in the oven. So go in the oven again, put it at like 250 for like 5 minutes, 30 seconds. I'd probably say about 5 minutes. And what you're doing is you're just heating up the existing glue, so when it comes time, we can press it together. So you're going to need a pair of vice grips or pliers, and we'll walk you through that. Take your time, do a little bit at a time. You don't want to do one spot at once. You don't want to break the tabs. You want to slowly work your way around the whole entire headlight, so when it comes time, it's done. So you see here, it's out of the oven. Jeff has a pair of adjustable pliers right here, and he's just going to work his way around every, half an inch to an inch as he's pushing down. And what he's trying to do is seal the glue to the outer lens and the inner, and what's going to happen is those tabs will snap in place. So I like to be extra cautious, and since this has a big rubber gasket, we are going to use silicone, and we're going to silicone around the whole entire headlight. As you see right here, we're using that goop silicone. It's cheap. You can get it at Napa. I think it was like 12 bucks. So we're going to go around the whole entire headlight. We're going to let it seal, and we're going to do the same thing we did last time. You see we have the Dawn dish soap on the table. Jeff's going to put on a rubber glove. He's going to put some dish soap on the glove, and he's going to go around the whole entire headlight to make that silicone be nice and flat and look good. So that's what Jeff's going to do right here. It's a good thing that you do use the Dawn dish soap because nothing will stick to it. As you see, he keeps going back and forth. And then once that's done and dried, you can now put on the outer gasket. So the outer gasket just clips in spot. Depending on what kind of car you're doing, you should know you took it off the first time. So ours just clips in spot. There's like 5 or 6 clips, and then that is done. Once that's done, we're going to test fit it one more time, or I should say test the projectors one more time to make sure everything's working. If you got any silicone on your lens, guys, let it dry, take a microfiber cloth, and you'll be able to clean it that way. It just rubs right off. So as you've seen at the very beginning of the video, guys, here we are. We have 2 retrofits done for under probably $150 Canadian, which is super cheap, super easy to do. We did this in pretty well, you know, a couple hours one day, a couple hours the next day, because we had to wait for the paint to dry. So the next video, guys, we're going to walk you through on how to wire this up into your car. Again, I'm using a high-low projector, and I'm going to be hooking up my demon eyes so I can turn them on and off as well. So this is quite easy. Doing the headlights will be as well. We do have the proper relay kits and stuff for this, and we do have the plugs to go from your high to low, because you're going to need to tap into your high beams, so your flap for your projector will drop down for your high beams. So if this did help you guys, please smash that like button. If you're new to the channel, subscribe. Comment down below wouldn't hurt as well. I do apologize between the voiceover and us talking, but unfortunately when you have kids, you got to do what you can do with the best situation. So I do thank you guys for joining us. I do thank Jeff for giving me a hand doing this. He did a wonderful job on these headlights, and well, we all got to start somewhere, guys, so don't be afraid. If you need help, leave a question down below. We'll try to answer all the questions as best as possible, and we'll try to walk you through this. Jeff has done plenty of different HID setups and retrofit setups, and as you see here, they look killer. So until next time, guys, we will definitely catch you on the next one.